What's up, guys? Welcome back to Dream Machine Academy podcast. This episode is going to be very exciting. We're going to be talking about artist branding, and this is something that a lot of artists, when they're starting out, overlook. It's something that doesn't kind of stick out. It's not a very prominent thing that you have to get done, but it is very important to your success as an artist. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that today.
Yep, we're going to go through what artist branding is. We're going to talk about the benefits of artist branding, how most artists don't have it, the different aspects of it, and what you can do in order to brand yourself and help you get to the next level.
So we'll start off now, and we'll start, what is artist branding? So artist branding it's a big, huge element to this, and there's a bunch of little pieces. So what there is there's your story that you're telling to people, how you're telling that story. So that's your voice, the copy that's in your website or on your web pages. And then there's your message. So all of those three things seem like the same thing, but they all have their own separate ways of being done. So
right, exactly. So the first thing you want to start out with is your story. You kind of want to figure out what it is that makes you different and what it is that makes you you. And that's going to be the thing that kind of sets you apart from everybody else, because everybody has their own story. And the unique thing is that everybody's story is unique to them. A lot of people, like to copy people and see what's working for them and just be like, okay, I'm going to go with that. But the thing that's going to get you to the next level and really set you apart is telling your own story, because nobody has your story.
Right, every story is unique, and that's what's going to set you apart from other artists. So what we like to say is, instead of trying to be better, try to be different. And ultimately, as you start off, you're already different. You've already got a different way of doing it. Even if you're staying in a certain genre of music, you're still approaching it completely different. Your inspiration is completely different. Your influence is different. So you've got a lot to say that is going to set you apart from other people, and you can't be afraid to tell your story and say, well, maybe they won't relate to it, because you have to tell your story to see if they'll relate to it. And you're going to find a lot of people that are in your same boat almost, that this is where the music is going to touch them now. And as soon as you show who you are with your story, then they have the opportunity to actually listen to the music and relate in a much deeper way. And because in a way, music is open to interpretation. If you can interpret it or sell what you're trying to have people interpret through your story, then you have a better chance of making a lifelong fan, really connecting to somebody and changing their life.
Right, exactly. And your story, when you figure out your story, it kind of helps you figure out your audience as well. It helps you kind of limit the people that you really want to focus on, and really be able to hone your focus in on the right crowd, which is something that we'll touch on a little bit later. So I think the second part of artist branding is going to be your voice, which is the copy or the words, or how you say your words in your story. So that's kind of like a subconscious thing as well. And you can really kind of have a lot of fun with this. After you figure out your story and you figure out what you want to portray, you can kind of figure out the tone in which you want to say it. Maybe you want to have fun with it, and you can use a few bad words or something in your story.
It's all about being yourself, really. And then changing your copy around to just represent you. You're not trying to be anything, you're just trying to be you. So, but you have to look at your copy and make sure that it's understandable from your fans. So you can't be saying things that don't reflect who you are. So if you're going to be edgy, then make sure you are edgy. So if you're edgy as a person, make sure that your copy is edgy so it matches you. If you're kind of laid back and a quieter, maybe just a softer kind of person, you don't want to go edgy, because you're not going to reflect the copy. It's not going to tell your message, which is not going to reflect your story.
Right.
So with your copy, with your voice, when you're on videos, when you're talking in interviews, you want to kind of make it all just be you. So it's acting natural, but it's being aware, being conscious of what you're saying and how you're saying it, so that it comes across as your message.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of leads into your message. Your message is your story and your copy combined. Your message is going to be what the fan or whoever is listening to you is perceiving from both of those substances. So from your message, or from your story to your copy, it all has to reflect the same thing, match each other, so that they can receive the message that you're trying to portray. So that's going to go through your music, through your visuals, through pictures, through your website design, through your social media, the way it's laid out, what you're saying on social media, your copy on social media. all of that is going to play into your message, which is going to lead it into one big thing, and that's what you want your fans to perceive. So
Right.
everything plays a very important role.
Yeah, so what's cool is when we're talking about story and voice, it kind of brings to the top of the head of just like a bio, you know what I mean? But
Right.
it's so much more than that. It is your, like you say, your website, how it looks, how you talk in your website, the whole feel of it, the colors you use. It's about, you know, your music videos and how those look. Are they cinematic? Are they just like one shot? You know, are they crazy effects going on? Because once you figure out your story and your voice, like Anthony says, your message is the whole grand scheme picture, and that's the end all be all of what you really want to portray and put out there, and how everything kind of looks. So when you're an artist starting out, or you know, mid-level, you kind of seem like it seems like there's a lot on your plate. So, you know, figuring out your story and your message first is really going to help you. Your story and your voice and then your message is really going to help you not have so much on your plate. It's going to be easier to make decisions because you're going to be like, okay, this is what I'm going after, and in order to get that, I have to make my visuals look like this, or I have to make my website look like this, or I have to make my music sound like this. So, you know, figuring out these things first is really going to help you keep your mind more clear and be able to move more efficiently and effectively in the long run. So that's, you know, a super important thing to figure out in the beginning, or if you haven't done it yet, then do it now.
And later on this is an introduction to a many-part series that we're going to do on branding. And one episode after this is going to be how to find your story, how to see who you are and what your message is. So stay tuned for that one. Now let's talk about the benefits of artist branding. So first of all, I'll go over the points here. One is looking like a professional, making your image memorable, your message and your image memorable, and also reaching your target audience. So branding's very important, and the benefit of it is looking like a professional, and this already will set you up for success instantly. So there's many elements to it. Obviously, professional pictures, professional recording and mixing and mastering all play a part. Professional web design, professional this, that. So, and we use the word professional as, you know, you can be a professional if you can DIY it yourself, but it looks like you really put it together. Something that is not professional or amateur is going to show through because all the pieces aren't going to be together. It's like building a house and there's nails sticking out of the wall, or the drywall's crooked or something like that. That's where you're going to find cracks in your own brand. So you want to make sure your brand is completely smooth out from the beginning to the end. So people are going to judge that instantly. So what we like to tell artists here is you have only a few seconds to grab somebody's attention on SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram. As soon as they see something, that's going to get their attention. Or it's going to lose their attention. So before they can even hear your music, before you get a chance to play to their ears what you've been working on and your art and making it, putting your soul into, they could just skip right over if you have something that does not look professional for your profile image, for your header, for this, that. If the whole brand doesn't look like it's together, you might lose somebody.
Yeah. Or they're not really going to understand your story. They might get something from your photo and it's totally different from what your music's like, and they just, you know, not appeal to it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, say your music is appealing to this certain crowd, but you know, your look and your brand really doesn't hone in on that. So you try to target the crowd that your music's targeting, but they just pass right over you, mm-hmm. you know, all the time because your brand isn't getting their attention. It's not retaining them. And, you know, if you spend the time and the effort in order to make yourself look like a professional, you're going to set yourself apart from probably 60-70% of the people that are out there right now, because there's so many people making music. You really have to, you know, take these steps and put these things into place in order for people to take you seriously, because, you guys know best how hard it is to get people to actually give you the time of day to listen to your stuff. So you got to do everything that you can nowadays in order to set yourself apart and really, you know, stand out from the crowd in that aspect. So branding is really going to help you out in that. Like we said, it's going to make you be memorable. You know, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Videos worth how many? There's thousands of pictures and videos. So this kind of stuff is really going to make people remember you, get to know you, want to share your stuff with other people and spread the word. You know, it's all encompassing. So I think you have anything else to add to that?
No, remember, that was good. So it's just gonna put that image in people's head, and kind of like anything else, like another big brand that's even outside of music, as long as you put your image in their mind and they can recall it, or they just pull it up randomly in their mind when they're listening to something, they're like, oh wait, I heard this and I saw this. And so once you put all that together, it really makes an impression on them, and they'll be easier to recall and go back to you. And then it kind of develops from there. Once you put all those things together, your target audience starts to find you. And you start to pull your target audience out of the crowd. So when your brand is matching a certain style, when it's saying this is what I am, then you're going to get the people that say this is what I'm looking for. I found you. This is where I'm going to stay. So if you're edgy and you're just putting your music out there and you're not really targeting markets, so yet you're going to start getting people that are edgy, but because of your branding. So once they see that, they start to feel that. Obviously, you want to start marketing to your target audience. You want to have that all figured out long before, but this is going to help that process.
So the third point that we want to make is that most people don't have artist branding down yet, and we kind of touched on this a few minutes back. But this can be a huge advantage for any independent artist coming up. Look at the people that you idolize, and look at their brands. Obviously, and I'm sure the ones that come to the top of your head aren't going to be mismatched or not have any type of brand at all. They're all going to be able to stand for something. So if they have it, then you should have it as well, because obviously you're trying to get to the highest point possible. So you have to put the pieces in place in order to get that. You probably set yourself apart from 60 or 70% of the people that don't have artist branding. There's so many people making music now. You really have to do everything that you can. So in order to, really give yourself a full advantage, then we definitely think that branding is kind of that missing piece to the puzzle that a lot of people don't think about. Obviously, there's things that come first, getting your logo done, getting your music made properly, and then kind of, moving on from there into the other aspects of branding, like website and things like that, which we'll go through the different aspects and how each can have a benefit for you a little bit later on as the next point that we want to make. Do you want to add anything else to this?
Yeah, so when you start with a brand, you're already ahead of the game, like we talked about. It sets you apart from the majority of the crowd, and it kind of sets you up for success, and that's just a major part of that. So look at this as something that is a necessity and something that a lot of people are missing out on, and something to get you ahead very fast, very, very simply, and just looking to get you success in the future. The key aspects that we offer at Dream Machine Recording Company for branding, and this is something that you can find anywhere. You can find it online. You can do it yourself. But we do recommend making sure that where you're getting it from is experienced and is professional and will exceed the bar of professionalism, because that is the most important part of branding. So key aspects on branding are your logo, which you would start with. It's kind of be your symbol. You're going to get your brand identity first. So you're going to get the scheme of things, what you're going to say, like what colors are going to be in your branding and how it's going to appeal to people, and if it's going to reflect like the feelings that you're trying to say through your music. That's one major thing. And then we kind of move on to print media, which is going to be your promo cards, stuff you can hand out physically, because nowadays a lot of people aren't doing the physical thing anymore. It's mostly digital, and you're missing a big crowd in your local community if you're not handing out these flyers, and you got to do it all the right way. So your flyers have to be memorable, and they have to try to be useful. So this flyer gets you a free download, or this flyer gets you free admission, or your artist promo card just looks like something people want to hold on to. So the way that you print things, the quality of that, just make sure that's all high quality. So there's print media, and then there's websites. Websites are going to set you apart by giving your brand a lot of just legitimacy, credibility as being a strong artist. A lot of artists are just missing this part because of social media, but this is a place where it's a hub for all of your material, instead of just links to SoundCloud and then a link back to Facebook to find out this and that. But you can send artists there, you can send your fans there, you can send promoters there, you can send venues there, and it's just one place to have everything cleaned up. It's 100% your style, 100% your look, and you're not going to miss a beat on your website.
Right. The audio visualizer, this is something that's super cool. That we've been doing more and more recently in-house. We started creating them for artists that we work with. So if you've ever been on like YouTube and you've seen like the YouTube channels that maybe like the hip hop channel or the trap channel or the EDM channels that have like those moving kind of logos where it moves and it goes to the music. These are becoming super popular, and they're really cool because they're a lot more affordable than an actual music video would be to shoot, a lot more cost effective, and it gives people something to actually listen to. Something to look at when they're on YouTube instead of just putting up your photo. And these things can really, add to your brand and kind of, round out and tell your story with something that's actually moving and interacting with the music. So that's super cool. We suggest doing that. Also, social media consistency. So if you've been on any of the, the major people's social media networks, you can tell right away, where you are, and they all look consistent across the board. Their Twitter, their Facebook, their Instagram, the style of them all looks the same. They all look similar. So that's something that you want to do as well as an artist. It just gives you that, professional look once again. And like Anthony was saying about the websites, with social media, you can't really tell your full story because you have limitations from the social media accounts as far as what you can do. So websites are awesome because you can do whatever it is that you do want to do. So you can really tell your story and really push your brand. And that's why we suggest doing websites. And I want to add one more thing about the print media. What's great is with print media is, it's physical. So when you go to shows, there's, if you go to open mics, there's a bunch of people there that night. And, sometimes people are drinking or whatever, and they wake up the next morning, then they might not remember you. But if they wake up the next morning and they look in their wallet and they have, a piece of the print media that you gave them, they're going to jog their memory and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that cat. He was cool. Let me check him out now. So whenever you do shows, you always want to give people something just to remember you by, even if it's your own show, just as an added benefit. Because like we said, you got to do whatever it is that you can do nowadays in order to stick out in people's head. So we always suggest, coming up with something that's different, if possible, that's really going to make you stick out. But at the very least, you want to give people something when they come to your shows.
So all of these elements have been the basic parts of branding. This is a kind of a fast overview, and like we said, we're going to break this up into a series of podcasts, and we're going to be able to go into detail about finding your story, your message, what key aspects of branding you should be using that will work for your brand more so, because you don't need everything at once. You can do it all in pieces, but it's good to have the full picture at the end. But you can start small and work your way up, and it's very important to just understand what's going to work for you right now, what's going to give you the benefits right now, instead of picking the wrong decision and kind of going with that. But we always do advise just pick a decision and go with it so that you're always moving. So that's it for artist branding episode, and we're excited to get more into this. So keep looking out for the next episodes and all of that, and we'll be excited to tell you what's going on.
Yeah, guys, we'll see you around. Thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you.